Check, check. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm ready to go. You guys, I am pumped that you're here. All right, first off, welcome to another episode of Lunch Talk. It is our Contagious Leadership series that we do every Thursday right here, 1 p.m. on these social networks that you are watching. And Laurie, I believe you're sharing to your network as well. So thank you very much for that. It is June 30th, 1 p.m. Central Time, the year of our Lord, 2022. And we've got Coach Kevin back. You do not want to miss this. I'm going to give you a little note. Grab a pen, paper, and something because Kevin's bringing it this time, bringing the whiteboard, and we're going to share some amazing things on what potential is and isn't, and the difference between knowing and doing, and how this applies right now to your life in any level, whether business or personal, and how you can immediately step up your game. We're going to be back in 30 seconds. Donnie, hit it. We'll be right back. All right. All right. You know the deal. If you are watching live right now, drop a hashtag live. And Donnie, let's welcome Coach Kevin back to the studio. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you.
Crowd's going nuts, man.
I'm so excited for this one. I watched the last one just
What'd
to
you
get
think?
ready for this.
Laurie,
Pardon?
what'd you think? What'd you think about the last Coach Kevin on?
Oh my God, my mind was blown. First off, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh wow, this thing called time that we think we have, it's just something that we use just to kind of like organize our thoughts and our events and stuff." But boy, that analogy about the game, like about I'm not a great football fan, but the football, like, hey, there's still 3 minutes left of the game, and it's true. There's still a half a year left.
That's right. There's still a half a year left. Go ahead, Coach.
We made time, and now we serve it like masters, right? It's crazy how you get to make a schedule. You are in control, especially entrepreneurs. You're in control of your schedule, and then we'll sit there and we'll make our calendar, and then the next week when we get into that calendar, we're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. As if the calendar's, you made the calendar. Like, you did it to yourself. Why not make one you make? Why not make a calendar that actually works for you? I mean, not that hard, right? Like, who made this schedule? Oh yeah, I did. Like, who do we fire? Well, me, because I get the schedule. I'm the entrepreneur. So we have to just stop becoming victims to our own reality, right? It's fun. It feels good to be a victim because when we were a baby, we cried and someone put a boob or a bottle in our mouth, and so it worked. But at 46, I'm done with that. Let's go make a powerful reality.
Oh man, what an intro to what we're about to talk about, Coach. This is perfect because we went through something, and you had this conversation with me and a few others. And the first thing I told you was, Coach, you've got to come on the program. We've got to share this with others. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The difference between knowing and not doing, in doing, not doing, potential, and what that means, and how it's honestly potential without, right? I'm going to get into that. The floor is yours, Coach. Go ahead and make sure on what you're bringing.
I don't even know. So this is a dangerous way to introduce me, Rigo. Who knows what the hell we're about to talk about now? Let me tell you something. Here's something we get so hung up in. We get so jacked about, right? What's up, Gregory? Nice to see you too, man. I want you to know that you have tremendous potential. You have tremendous potential, right? As a human being, in fact, you have limitless potential. The limits of your potential are so great that I promise you, no matter how powerful you think you are not even touching those limits, right? One of the hardest things about my job, it's funny, is right now I'm doing this rebrand. I've been kind of almost under a rock, almost hidden for the last 2 years, like figuring out, like, what is it that I really do? What is it that I really teach people, right? One of the hardest things about being me, like, what is the purpose of my life? I'm light in the night. I wake the sleeping giants. That's what I do. But nobody thinks they're asleep, right? When I see someone, I'm like, man, you have so much more potential. But the problem is, like, even though I see the 90, 100, 200, 300% potential they're leaving out, for them, this client, it's their whole reality. So the 20% of their life that they're really using, they think is awesome. And here's the thing, it's way awesomer than where they were. So it's a frustrating part of my reality as a coach, is getting people to see, like, you have all this potential, right? Then once they see that potential, people get really comfortable and they think that they did something. Oh man, I mean, how many of us as salespeople, right, have actually said, "Oh, this is a $1 million potential deal. Or this deal could bring $100 million to us." We get all excited, and then we don't make the follow-up call. Why? Because we get so jacked up about the potential, and we forget what it actually is, right? We forget that potential is nothing. Potential is nothing. In and of itself, potential energy is nothing. Like, literally, Bill Parcells said this, having a lot of potential just means you haven't done anything. Like, that's the truth, right? Like, we have the most potential, right? When we're first born, we have infinite potential as a human being. I wouldn't suggest to you CEO types out there to go hire a bunch of newborns, but they have so much potential, right? But we trick ourselves all the time in thinking, well, now look, potential is good. Right? Potential is good, because without potential, there can never be any reality or results. But what we have to understand, that potential is only valuable to us in our life if we transfer that potential into actual results, right? And think about, if I had something really, really heavy over my head, like it's 100 pounds, right? It's got 100 pounds of potential energy. If I drop that 10 feet, holy crap, we could destroy a car with that. Like, it has but if I never let it go, it doesn't have really any power, just all potential energy. And if I just put it down nicely, nothing really happened, right? We get excited because we see the potential of something, but potential cannot be what we get excited about. Why? Because it's nothing. Potential is literally the thing you don't have that could happen, but hasn't happened.
It's almost like it's in the description of the word itself. As you're talking, I'm thinking, well, that's what potential means. It's potentially something that can happen. It hasn't happened yet. But as you're talking, go ahead, coach.
Great example, man. You said I could do whatever, so watch it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Donnie's yours. You just tell him what to do.
I'm just following the rules you laid out. Here's the thing, though. Let me give you an example, right? Think about a sports player. I'll give you a sports player. I'll give you a politician, and I'll give you somebody else that I'll make up in the meantime. Okay. Tom Brady. Tom Brady as an NFL player. All right. Think about FloJo, the track and field star, right? Carl Lewis, right? And then think about like Barack Obama or whoever you want. If you want Trump, I know like people get all freaked out. Who cares? But Barack Obama's a great idea, right? Because he served 2 terms, right? So think about those 4 people. How much potential do those 4 people have? Now, your mind is going to trick you right now, and you're like, wow, they had so much potential. How much potential does Tom Brady have as a football player right now? Almost none. Because the truth is, even if he wins another Super Bowl, there's really not much to prove. That's just another result he's added. It's awesome, and it's gravy, and I'm sure that's why he's doing it, because, man, I can't even lose. Even if I lose, I wasn't supposed to. I mean, the guy has so many Super Bowl rings that he's going to run out of hands soon, right? Like, he's going to wear them on his toes. He's been to the Super Bowl more times than anyone. He has almost no potential. Like, the only thing that was cool about when he won with the Buccaneers is like, wow, he went to a whole new team that was kind of crappy, and he turned out, wow. Why was that interesting to him? Because it had a new potential in a career that otherwise had nowhere to go. Okay, Tom Brady's the best with the Patriots again. Great. I mean, that just like, you could just tick that off for year after year after year. Because why? He had results. Why is Barack Obama, and I'm sure that he'll actually do this after I say this just because it'll be funny, but why is he not running for president again? His potential as a politician is gone. Unless we invent some higher, president of the supreme universe, there is nothing higher. He has converted all of his political potential into reality, and God, that's fucking amazing for him. Like, it's amazing, like awesome. Like, those are results. He's a 2-term president. There's no more potential. Same for like George Bush. It's 2-term president. There's no more potential. There's nothing else to do in that realm. It's time to move on. The greatest successes you look up to in your life, like Carl Lewis, Flojo, right? What other potential do they have? No, I mean, how many times can you win the Olympics, right? It's just, you want to destroy potential. But potential is only valuable to you in your life in the destruction thereof with results.
So wait a minute, Coach Kevin. So are you saying that what we should be doing is take our potential and destroy our potential?
Yes. Watch this. If you guys will let me use, yes, I am saying that you want to destroy your potential. Okay?
I have never heard anybody ever word it this way. So this is like, I'm like, what?
If we can get my whiteboard up, I'm gonna draw something that I think will help, right? Here, and this is because I have a whiteboard and I can draw some things. Please don't take this to mean that I am a good artist. So help me out here. So I am gonna draw the Hoover Dam, right? Right, there's the Hoover Dam, right? Okay, that's the Hoover Dam. Now, behind the Hoover Dam is this massive, massive, massive reservoir of water, right? So the potential energy that the Hoover Dam can create, right, is equal to some giant equation about the weight and the distance that all of this water could fall from the top of the dam to the bottom, right? Here's the cool part. So let's just say it has a billion potential. Like this dam can power Las Vegas forever as long as it doesn't run out of water, right? It's all this potential. But what happens, Laurie, if I never open the gate and let the water through?
It's stored energy.
It's a really, 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 really expensive swimming hole. It doesn't do anything. Like it won't create any energy. What do I have to do in order to produce the result? I have to let the water into the dam, let it run through the turbines, right? Which converts the potential energy of the water into the mechanical energy of the turbine, which then is converted to electrical energy, right? The electricity that we want from a dam. But that happens by letting water run through the dam and out. We destroy a certain amount of the potential of the reservoir in order to create what? The result. And the result we want is what? It's a really nice
electricity.
It's a really nice light bulb, right? Actually shining. That's the result we want. We want the electricity. If you never kill, and I'm done with the whiteboard. If you never kill the reservoir, now look, the reservoirs are designed so you can refill them. Great, that's cool. That's true in your life too. But you have, every time you get a result, you destroy the potential. So think about it. When Barack Obama was just a candidate, he had the potential to become president. As soon as he's elected, he has no longer any potential to become president. He is the president. Okay. He has destroyed that potential with the result. And that's what we're really after. And it's cool to have potential. Don't get me wrong. It's very cool to have potential because without potential, we can create nothing. So if I don't have the potential to do something, all right, cool. I can't even create in that space. But we have just been focusing on trying to give a value, right? A value to the potential. There's no value in the potential. At the beginning of the season, every sports team in the NFL has the same potential to win the championship. At the end, only one out of, I think, 32 teams, maybe more, maybe less, does it, right? Why? Well, because only one created the result.
And so we have to, if we don't use it, then right, just like the Hoover Dam, like that, it's an expensive swimming pool, and it's almost like we're hoarding our potential, our skills, our talents, and we're not sharing them, with others, with the world. And so, like, wow,
we're hoarding it, but rather we're hiding it.
There it is. There it is.
We're hiding it.
If you get out into the cemetery, which at my events we do quite often, and you look out over a cemetery and there's 2,000-3,000 people there under the ground, out of 2,000-3,000 people, I can promise you 1,900, 1,950, 1,990 of them had some kind of great novel in them that never was written. They had some kind of great, beautiful piece of music that never was sung. They had some kind of amazing business idea. And look, everybody watching this call has done it too. You had that idea, like, man, that'd be cool. And you're like, and then 5 years later, you're like, damn, that guy just made $100 million. I thought of that. I had that idea. We see these things, these things bubble up in us, but then what do? We sometimes just kind of like have fun with the potential. And one of the
Okay,
things
so
I,
I got a question.
with the potential.
Yeah, I got a question. So, why do you think, as individuals, why do we get stuck, Coach? Why do we get stuck in the realm of potential? Why do we get stuck with the potential only to be what, you know what I mean? Like, leads us. We get the potential. We go to the mountain, right? That sense.
Mhm.
We get that, and then now that was good enough. We get stuck in that place, and I hear it all the time. There's so much potential. This person had so much potential. There was so much there, and it didn't go that way. Why do we get stuck in potential?
Well, it's simple because potential is perfect. It hasn't happened yet. It's every NFL team at the start of the season pretending like they're going to win the championship, no matter who's on the team, no matter what they think that, man, like, because potential is perfect, right? What is perfection? Perfection is a lie. Potential, because it's perfect, will live in that lie. Well, I could have written the book. I could have, if people only knew how smart I was. Yeah, well, because you didn't tell them. So that's not really cool. Like, you had this cool little secret that you didn't tell with the world. Guess what? That's called not living. That's called not being out there, right? So the reason that we do it is, imagine if you were a farmer, right? And you had the seed for the most amazing crop that the world has ever known. It could feed the world, right? In your hand. And you're like, this seed will feed the world. Unless I don't water it enough, or there's a drought this year, or I don't protect it from predators, or I fuck up and use the wrong tractor and don't make it happen. So now, once we start getting into reality, it gets really messy. Here's the things I could mess up. Here's the things that might not go well, or maybe it's the worst year in the world for this crop and I'm planting it at the wrong moment. You have the seed and you have this limitless potential, and you know you could feed the world. That feels really good. As soon as you go to plant the seed, guess what you don't have anymore? The seed.
Potential.
So now you're scared because now, man, what if something goes wrong? Because crops fail all the time, and there's crickets here, and it's the 7-year locust thing, and so that becomes very uncomfortable.
But what about like the neighbor? What about the neighbor to the farmer? You know, you tell the neighbor that, hey, I've got these amazing seeds that can feed our community, feed our world, and your neighbor's like, yeah, I've heard about that before. I don't think it's going to work.
I doubt it,
Yeah.
right? But you know, right? And so then you could be like, well, he's wrong. And as long as I never plant it, I'm right and he's wrong. And we get stuck in this cycle. I'm telling you that it is, if you've ever gotten your dream job, right? So if you've ever gotten your dream job, which I have right now, like I'm a full-time coach. It's what I was put on the earth to do. It is amazing. And what have I done on social media? Go look up my social media. What have I done on social media for the last year and a half? Nothing. I think this is, I have restreamed this live. I think this might be the first live stream in like a year or something. I don't know.
I wonder why I had trouble finding you.
Like, if I had tried to hide under a rock, I wouldn't have done a better job. Like, personally, I hate the way that social media tries to control my attention, because I believe that my attention is what my life is made of. Attention leads to thoughts, lead to beliefs, lead to actions, leads to life. Like, my life is the sum of all the creation and actions, right? So I hate when someone's trying to manipulate my attention, because that's manipulating my whole life. If you're mining my attention, you're mining my life, and that's mine, not yours. I'm gonna have to learn to play. Like, I have to grow up and learn to play. But here is the deal, though. Like, once you get your dream job, and it's like, okay, I was born to be a coach. It's here. We're doing this. I'm full time. You get this crazy kind of fear, because, if I messed up, like when I used to sell seafood, right? I used to sell shellfish. If I messed up selling shellfish, whatever, like, I wasn't put on the earth to sell shellfish. Like, that's not a reflection of my soul or who I am. But if I mess up being Coach Kevin, then I have just made a statement that what I was born to do, I'm not good enough for. And I don't know that there's any greater human fear than that, of like, here it is. This is what I was. But if I do less, let's say that I, like, instead of coaching, I did something similar to coaching, like marketing. This really happened, PS, right? And then it's like, well, it's close because I'm coaching people how to do it, but it's not really what I am. Well, then I can always have in the back of my mind, well, I'm not really doing what I was meant to do. There's a fear that comes with that responsibility, right? You can't have the seed and plant it at the same time. And once you plant it, it's planted. You better tend it. And you better do the best you can. And that's the scary thing. Here's the thing, though. Here's the other side of that, is if you never plant it, you never get the fruit. You never get the food. The world will never know that incredible thing that feeds everyone because it was never planted, right?
Right.
Yeah, but there's no risk either.
A basket.
Right, but there's no risk, and that's the thing, because there's also no loss, right? No loss, no gain. It's
Bible,
kind of that.
The Bible talks about this, right? In the book of John, the Bible talks about this, like, except the corn of wheat die, there could be no fruit, right? Like, in other words, Jesus was talking about like being crucified and resurrected, saying, hey, I got to do this, Peter. Like, I get it. Thanks for like cutting this guy's ear off and trying to protect me from ultimately what I'm here to do. I have to do this. I have to go do this hard thing, right? And it is hard and it is messy and who knows how it's going to turn out. But man, wouldn't you rather fall squarely on your face, converting the potential of your life into results? And maybe you don't put out as much power as you thought you would, but at least you tried. At least you didn't keep the dam just closed and say, well, I'm not even worth trying.
Well, actually, I got something for you, Coach Kevin. Sure. Do you think a lot of people are actually like, I'm not really quite sure what my dharma is, why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing. So they're trying for like that perfection until like a lightning bolt strikes me like with this amazing idea. I don't know about like that. They just hold everything.
Almost everyone does that. And do you know what the lightning strike is for most people? I think that's almost everyone. You know what the lightning strike is that wakes them up? It is dying, like being on their deathbed and realizing, oh, I never did that. I never even tried. So here's my thing. If you don't know what the purpose of your life is, guess, because you're the best guesser at the purpose of your life. You're the only person who can know. Guess and then run at it. And on the way, if you're like, whoa, this isn't me, that might be me. Awesome. You're never going to find out just sitting around thinking about it. I love what this guy, I don't know, it just says LinkedIn user. So whoever you are, random LinkedIn user. It says, so knowledge increases potential, but doing is irreversible. Yes, knowledge increases potential. And this is why we say, well, knowledge is power, but only kind of. Knowledge is potential power, right? And what we get trapped in is we say, well, I know this, right? And we all got trained. If you were a man my age, we got trained by G.I. Joe, right? Like knowing is half the battle, right? This was, I don't know how many times I heard that in my youth, but it was a lot. But here's the problem. How many people in America are obese? How many people in America, including me, man, I fall squarely into that, right? I'm a very fit obese man. I'm the only 310-pound man I know that's finished an Ironman, but ultimately I got a problem, right? I know how to fix that. In fact, based on who I am, the studies I've done, I know how to fix it probably better than most human beings on the planet. Has that actually resulted in me becoming like fixing that problem? No. So what do I have? I have a pile of potential and no results. That's crazy, right? Because knowledge is potential power. Without potential power, there can never be real power. So that's great. Knowledge is power if you skip a few steps. But those few steps are the key. Those few steps are why you're so frustrated in having all this potential and not being able to. You got to go take a chance. You got to go take a risk. Like people get hung up in. I'm gonna put this on the whiteboard again if I can. If you guys will put it up. So people get hung up, right, in knowing. Then they're like, oh, well, knowledge is power. My handwriting is going to be fun, guys. Hang on. I know something. And because I know something, then that'll let me have something. And then because I have something, then I can do something. And then I'll be something.
There was. I was just running to get my notebook. I had the wrong notebook, and I was like, oh, where are they? Yeah, there it is.
This is, hey, I know how to do this. And then that lets me have the degree, and the degree lets me do the things that let me be the person. There's nothing, listen to me, there is nothing that Tom Brady knew that created the champion that he is. Michael Jordan didn't know how to be champion. What he did is he said, hey, I am the greatest. Muhammad Ali is probably the best example of this I've ever seen. I'm the greatest of all time. And his own quote, I'm the greatest of all time. I said that before I knew it was true. He believed, same thing with Michael Jordan. I am this. I am a 6-time champion. I am the guy who wins the Super Bowl. And if I am that person, then what are the things that I need to do to maintain that status that I already have because I believe who I am. That's looking at it from results. And people say, well, wait a second. He's not really that thing yet. Well, no, but he's saying, where do I want the potential to go? And he's going to go stand down there. Just like before you open the dam, there's no water on the bottom. There's no water on the other side. But if I want the water here where the results are, then what do I have to do? Go back to the whiteboard, right? Then when I do those things that the greatest of all time does, I just saw an interview with a guy who used to do, he was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan. He said he was difficult to train because if you told him to do 20 reps, he'd do 30. If you told him to do 6, he'd do 12. And so he's always playing this game of he's always going to do more, right? Why? Because Michael Jordan said, hey, I am the greatest. What is the greatest? The greatest does more. Muhammad Ali is famous for saying that I don't count sit-ups until they hurt. Then I count. So if I have 25 sit-ups, I go till they hurt. And once they hurt, I do 25, right? Because why? I am the greatest. And what does the greatest do, right? And then because of what the greatest does, he has all the things that the greatest has. And that is the true value of the knowledge. That is where all the knowledge matters. It's not to say the guys are ignorant, right? It does not to say they don't know things. They must know things. But you need to understand, like, well, I'm going to know this for what? I mean, there are thousands of people right now. Thank you for the whiteboard. I'm done. There are thousands of people right now that are watching hour after hour after hour of YouTube to learn how to do the thing that they already could do. Just be that thing.
Just exactly. We have to be that. I tell people that, and people are always shocked to hear that I'm a reformed, painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker. Growing up, I had this identity. I was being the shy girl who couldn't even make eye contact with people. So, so of course I had the be, the do, the have, but until I just took on that, well, okay, I guess I'm going to have to be the speaker. I started making the eye contact with people. I accidentally said yes to a speaking thing. And I just had to be that speaker so that the be, the do, the have. Exactly. Exactly.
There's this famous moment in, I don't know why, there's something about you, Rigo. I always go to NFL. I never make NFL things, but when I'm on this show, it's like all football. So sorry.
Which is interesting because I am like the last guy who would be able to.
I don't know. I'll just say Dad's here with me. It must be because that's my football connection. But think there was this famous interview in like 2006, I think, of Eli Manning. And this sports reporter that he's talking about, are you a top shelf? Are you a first class quarterback? He says, yeah, I think I am. He says, well, do you think you're in the same class as Tom Brady? And he said, yeah, I think I would put myself in that class. And he was berated. I mean, people were like, this is crazy. This guy's done nothing. Like, what is he talking about? He always flubs. Like, he got berated. Well, guess what happened 2 years later? He beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Whoops. I'm not saying that he's a better quarterback when you look at the full record, but what did he prove? Well, he is in that class, right? But he believed it, which allowed him then to give himself permission to do. If you look at the arrows inside of the whiteboard, all of the arrows here are permission, right? Knowing that I am something gives me permission to then do the things that person does. You talk about like imposter syndrome or fake it till you make it, right? I don't believe in fake it till you make it. Like, make it until you make it. Like, do things. Really, don't fake them. Just do them, right? Because that gives you permission then to have these things, right? And that then makes all this knowledge matter, right? Knowledge really just sits kind of out here. It doesn't really belong at the bottom or the top. But you are going to be so frustrated when you talk to championship guys, like when you talk to people who get to the very top, the very pinnacle, they have already had the thing that they want in their head for a long time. And they are grateful for it before they have it, right? Why? Because they're in a state of being. I am the champion. I already have, right? The have comes later, after the actions, but you will never give yourself permission to take the actions of a champion unless you believe that you are a champion. That's it. We talk all the time about effort. Like, why can this guy give effort and that guy can't? Because he believes himself to be.
I love what you said earlier about permission to be that. Permission to be that, so that it then gives you that permission to do what you're being, so that then you have the permission to have what you want to have. But you're right, it all starts up here. It all starts between our ears. We have to be that first. Permission to be. I've never heard it that way. I love that.
Many are called, but few are chosen. I'm chosen because I chose myself, because I gave myself, which is the whole game. Like, that's why many are called and few are chosen. We can all be chosen. We all have the same limitless potential, but very few of us will ever give ourselves permission to try. My thing is, if I get upstairs and God's like, hey man, you weren't supposed to be that big, I'll just ask for forgiveness. I'm okay. Like, I would much rather ask for forgiveness for the greatness of my life than for permission to ever have it, because no one is coming to tell you, yes, you can do this thing. Yes, you can. Like, you believe that you can or you can't. And whichever thing that's true, that's true. Like, if you believe you can, you probably can. If you believe you can't, then you probably can't. You're probably right either way.
100%.
So this is awesome. So when we look at something like this, and we come back to that example you gave us here on the whiteboard, knowing, having, doing, and then becoming, being the opposite of the direction versus looking at who you are to be, go do, that you create and have, and then when we're looking at individuals, whether they are in a work environment, in their personal life, people that are looking for their purpose or searching for their next level in their growth, how does one reverse this understanding that it's not about having to understand all of the steps so much? How does one change their mindset in shifting and understanding that they have to, like you said, giving permission, but how does one go to the B? How does one start with B?
So first off, it's just a choice that you make. Okay, how do you start? Let's talk about what most people do first to give a context. The opposite, inside of, like, if I start with who I am and then what are the things that person does? I believe it now before it is, right? I believe it now before it is now. I'm going to do the things that if like, for example, fatherhood, right? So what happened to me, I'll tell you a very personal story. Okay, so I cheated on my first wife, right? And I got caught. And I wasn't like this really powerful, honest person who came out and said, hey, no, I just straight up got caught, right? We had a very quick divorce. In the course of that 3-day divorce, because I just capitulated and I signed this paper saying, hey, she can move back with her family if she needs to. I felt like I'm not going to bar her from doing that. Really, in arrogance. I would love to sit here and tell you I was a great guy who wanted to watch out for her. It was an arrogance of, like, wherever she goes, I'll be fine. I'll fly there. I can make this happen, right? It was an arrogant power, not a true power, right? So 48 hours after the divorce, now we 72 hours divorced, and then 48 hours after that, I come home from work and there's a moving truck there, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I remember my dad pulling me aside. He's like, look, nothing good's gonna happen with you here. She's moving. I'll call you when she leaves, and you can come back. Just go cool off somewhere. You don't be involved. Tell me if there's anything I need to watch out for that you really think you need, and I'll handle this, right? So, I'm gone for a few hours. I don't even remember where I went. Dad calls, said, hey, you should go ahead back to the house, right? I walk back into the house, and it's empty, like beyond empty. Like, it was only a 1,400 square foot house. It was a tiny house, right? And I dropped an ink pen. I was so shocked at how empty it was. I dropped an ink pen, and I'll never forget that ink pen echoing in 2 different places in the house. I heard 2 different echoes. Everything was gone. She gave all the food in the fridge away. She gave all the food in the freezer away. Everything that was mine to keep, she rented a storage space and put it all there. So even my stuff it was just a complete, first off, Emily, amazing boss move like that. I hope that was cathartic, because it's really pretty freaking amazing when you think about it. Like, and it was a great reset for me, but man, what a shock. Because my kids lived, 7-8 steps down the hall my whole life. And now they had just moved to Austin, Texas, 9 hours away. And I was like, perfect. I'm going to go see them next week. And for the first time after signing all that, I said, well, okay, how do I get a flight? Guess what happened? Turns out there's no direct flight. So to fly to Austin from where I was in New Orleans, or south of New Orleans, took longer than to drive there. That sucked. So it's more expensive and it takes longer. I guess I'll be driving 18 hours every other weekend for the next 10 years of my life. And people often ask me, like, well, how did you do that? How is that possible? The first 5 times that I went, I got to the door and it was like, well, our agreement, again, I was so arrogant, just said, hey, we agree to visitation. So I showed up. I'm like, hey, I want to see the kids. Well, I don't agree. You should see them. And that was the end. 18-hour drive for I don't agree. You should see them. Second time, same thing. Third time, same thing. Fourth time, everyone's telling me, why are you even going? It's like, 'cause my kids are going to know that I show up. Why? Because I am a great father, because something clicked inside of me. When that pin hit the ground and I realized that when my kids were 7 steps down the hall, I completely took that for granted. And now they were 9 hours away. And now how I decided to act, who I decided to be, would determine the outcome of their entire lives. And my oldest is 22. At the time, she was 9. When that really hit me, I said, well, man, who am I? And the answer is, I'm a great father. So I am a great father. I know I am. I have not acted as a great father. I have not been a great father, but I am that. At my core, I am that. So what does a great father do? A great father goes, okay, awesome. So then I did that. And what did that do? It had me showing up and being denied again and again and again. The 5th time that I was denied, I walked out to the car. This is 5 times traveling 18 hours to not see the kids. The 5th time, I walked out to the car, called my wife today, crying, saying, I just don't know what to do. And the kids walked out of the door. And the grandma came out and she said, I don't know if I can get their clothes, but no one's going to chase you. If you want the weekend with your kids, here they are. I was like, hey, we'll buy them new clothes, no problem. And that started visitation. And then that started the visit after the visit. About 2 years into that, the greatest freeze and snowstorm in Texas ever happened. I didn't know it was happening, but I got on the road and I got going, and it was horrible. I got frozen into my car. I didn't even know that was possible. A trucker had to get me. I was trying to get gas and I couldn't get out of the car because it's so humid down in the South and it doesn't usually get that cold. The 9-hour drive took 21 hours. Everyone said, turn around, don't go, just get a hotel where you are. But I just kept thinking, what would a great father do? A great father shows up. Why? Because you're just going to show up and give them a hug and leave, right? Like, how much time are you really going to have with them? But no, a great father shows up, right? I get all the way there. I passed over 2,000 wrecks that day. That's a real number. That's not there were so many wrecks. People in the South, we do not know how to drive. If you're in the North, you send us some memos. We don't know what to do. We just stay inside. That's what we do when it freezes, right? But I got there. I got to the door. My wife at the time had said, hey, why are you even doing this? There's no point. My ex-wife had said, why are you even doing this? There's no point. Everyone had said there's no point. But what did I know? I know who I was. I was a great father. I showed up at the door opens, it's my ex-father-in-law, and behind him is my 11-year-old running to the door, screaming at the top of her lungs, I told you he would come. I told you he would come. I mean, but I don't get that. I don't get that because I know that that's going to happen. I had no idea that would happen. I had no idea that I would have that gym. That same girl, Hunter Eve, my oldest, she's 22, and we had lunch about a year ago. And she said, you know, Dad, like, I feel like our family broke in the divorce, but somehow I got a dad. But that was because I determined to be that father. It was such a great moment for me to see that, wow, this really worked. But I could not know that would be the result. There was no certificate you could give me that said, hey, you're going to be able to do this for this long. You're going to be able to make this happen. You're going to be able to turn, the Marriott, which I'm like an ambassador now because we spent so many nights in the Marriott. You're going to be able to turn the Marriott into your home. And that's going to be where you have these moments with your kids. And you're going to be able to do all these things. Like, I couldn't know that. No one could put together a playbook. My father, before he died, somehow it came up, like, what's the most surprising thing about each kid? I said, what's the most surprising thing about my life, Dad? And he said that you stayed with your kids and you've become a powerful, great father from this far away. I didn't think that was possible, right? I had no idea how to do it. Nothing I had would make that simple. And nothing I could do could change it as how I felt. But I knew I am this. I am a great father. I am a father who unifies my family, whatever that means. And so I did the things that guy would do. And then I ended up having the things that guy had. And that brought things I could never know into my life.
That is so powerful, Coach Kevin. So thank you so much for sharing that. And what I guess, like, from your story, like, what I'm really taking away from that is, like, we can think that we know, but you're right. There's no guarantee that what you're striving to do is even going to happen, like Tom Brady, becoming as wonderful as and having as many Super Bowl rings as he has. But he just made the decision to just like, here's the person that I'm going to be. Like you're being that wonderful dad, you're being that wonderful coach, that wonderful role model for so many people. Like I guess like the big question that we all need to be asking ourselves is, who are we being? Have we even decided who to be?
So even beyond who, I would say that life asks us a question every single day. Right. And I got this from Viktor Frankl, who's one of my great heroes. Life, you don't ask questions of life. Life asks you a question every day. And life asks you, why are you? Why are you? Every single day you wake up and life asks you that question deep inside your brain. Why are you? And you answer with the actions that you take. You answer with your whole life. Right. And only very few of us are answering that question on purpose. Right. And here's the deal. If you don't know why you are, good, guess, and then do that, and then see how it feels, and then guess the next thing and the next thing, because no one really knows. No one 100% knows the path of their life. But I can promise you that if you don't know what you want, you already have it. And if you don't know where you're going, you're already there. Period. So that's fine. Maybe you love exactly where you are. And if you do, awesome. Well done. Like you've lived your life really well. But for most of us, we don't know what we want because we're simply too afraid to say. We're simply too afraid to commit.
Mike, that's powerful right there. If you don't know who you are, you are already who that
there.
is, right? Yeah, you're already there. I mean, this is incredible. There was a question earlier that talked about how did you find your B, and that's it. That was it right there, without even knowing. Sharing that story. I hope that this is, you guys are grabbing this and understanding the. It's simple but not easy. And there's a lot of things right now, right? And there's things in life, plenty of them, that are simple but not easy. And we go back to that potential. You had the potential to be a good father. You had the potential to be a bad father. You had the potential to invest yourself, Coach, in a different area. You could have said, well, that's it. I give up. I'm going to build my business. I'm going to invest in this.
A lot of guys
family,
do that. A lot of guys take off and they just send money. And let me tell you something. The deadbeat dads, the guys who just disappear, I would never choose that. I don't necessarily respect that, but I can tell you exactly why they do that. I have the scars. I have the emotional trauma. I have all of the pain that comes with showing up. It hurts more to show up because guess who got to tell their 14-year-old that they cheated on their mom? And guess who got to hear her? Like when I was getting remarried, right? She had a really hard time with this. And she said, I don't want you to do this. I said, Hunter, baby, one day your mom's going to get remarried too. And that's a great thing. And we're young. Like she should be happy. And her answer to me was this: well, I hope her second husband is better than her first. Like angry. And I have the pain of having to swallow that and say, you know what? I agree with you because I was a terrible husband. I was a good dad, but I was a terrible husband. You know what? I agree. I hope she does too. And then you go home and cry about that later of like, wow, what kind of example did I set, right? But I can't really live in the past of what my potential was to show that this never was an issue. But who cares about that? That potential's over. That marriage is over. I have new potential now. So now I can create the new results, is hopefully live a life that teaches her that there's something else inside, which we've done very successfully. Our kids, if you met our kids, you would not know whose are Whitney's, whose are mine, and whose are ours together. Well, you'd probably know that because Liam is a little hellion. He's exactly all the worst and best of me and Whitney. But you, the truth is, like, you would not know if you had to pick which ones are his, which ones are hers. People get it wrong all the time because they're just that knit. Because we said we're a unified family. This is impossible. We cheated with each other on our previous families. It's impossible that less than a year after getting caught cheating with his wife, I'm going to sit at Daddy Day with Isabella's father and make jokes about the terrible ham. That's impossible. But we did it. Why? Because I determined I'd be the father she needed, and so did he. And so we did. So she didn't have this weird thing where we hated each other. We did hate each other. There was a lot, but you know what? We put it down. He was big enough. I was big enough to say, hey, who do we want to be? We want to be the dads who show up. So she has great memories of us joking. I'm sure that was horrible for him. I mean, I can only imagine that was terrible for him. But two people decided who they were going to be. Now, somebody mentioned a question here that I think is pretty interesting. He's like, what if you do something and you don't get the result, but someone else did it and they got the result? Would you do that again? Well, the first thing I would ask myself is this the kind of thing that takes time to see the result? Right? In other words, I'm practicing jujitsu right now. You don't get good at jujitsu in a day. It's not like you go to jujitsu and the next day you're awesome, right? This is a long-term thing. It takes like 13 years to get a black belt, right? So if I go and I don't see a result, well, maybe that's just because you don't show up in the gym for 48 hours and see a result. You show up in the gym over a long period in your life and see a result, right? I couldn't run an Ironman because I ran last week and I was like, oh, that felt good. I'll go do an Ironman. Awesome. Yay. No, not at all. Not at all. That's not how it works. Like, so I would look at, is this something that takes time to master or not? And is this something that I really want? If I failed, will I keep trying? Now, there are other things where we're just really unique, where like, Rigo's a vegetarian and this puts him in great shape and that works for him. And then I try vegetarian and I get all bloated. I've seen this where guys go like whole food vegetarian, they start getting all bloated and it just doesn't work for them. Cool. Then I would say, well, this isn't for me. I would give it enough time to know, right? One of the big issues in our life is we want to build discipline. People talk about discipline all the time. Like, well, how do you build discipline? Well, here's the thing. You can't. There is no possible. Well, that's not possible. Like there's a whole industry about that, right? But you really can't, because if I said right now, Laurie, I want you to be very disciplined about putting your pencil in a certain tray. And you're like, okay, I'm in. I want to be disciplined with putting my pencil in this tray, right? There's something silly. How can you do that? You can't. Even if you said, yes, you're not disciplined. All we can do is commit. And then when we commit to that and then we do it once, awesome. I committed and I did it once. Now, if you stay committed and you stay committed the next day, boom, you did it another time. And if you stay committed over a week, guess what? Now you're starting to have, wow, you got a week's worth of discipline. Discipline is how we see commitment honored in past tense. So when we want to create discipline, what we need to do is commit and then stay committed. Because discipline itself, right, is us seeing that, wow, this guy or me or someone else or this girl, their discipline means she has stayed committed over time, right? And so when people want to create discipline, you can't, because time, it's commitment plus time that creates the discipline. So what you can create is commitment and action, and then you can create it again and again and again, right? So this is kind of a little trick of discipline, and it becomes truly a discipline. It becomes so natural. There are so many things in my life that I do without even thinking about them because I've built that discipline, but that discipline started in what? In commitment. I was committed until then I could look back and say, oh, hey, all right, I'm disciplined at this. And that's a very important piece, I think, because people get confused of like, well, I want to have the results of a committed, or I want to be a person who's disciplined in working out. I want those results. Well, cool, but you can't, right? Someone says, hey, 5 years is a short time, or is it enough, right? You can't get 10 years of growth in 5 years. So if it's something that requires 10 years of growth, it takes 10 years. Now, you cannot waste days. You cannot you can get 10 years of growth in 20 years. That happens to a lot of people. So I would really look at my commitment over the last 5 years. I would look at my commitment to it. Have I really been committed? What we talk about commitment, when we throw these things out as coaches, and you'd better understand the definition. And I don't mean that I have the right definition, guys. There's lots of definitions that work, but just so we're communicating clearly, what is commitment? It's what's required plus what you said you would do. I learned this from Satoma Gali, who's an incredible coach, right? And it rocked my world, because he's like, hey, are you committed to this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, can you tell me the definition of commitment? And I was like, no. He's like, so how do you know if you're committed? Yeah, that's a good point, right? Like, I never thought of that. He's like, listen, commitment ultimately is what's required plus what you said you would do. So 5 years of effort at something, if you never did what's required, then you weren't really committed. And 5 years of effort and you didn't do what you said you would do on top of what's required, you weren't really committed either. And so that's a big thing, is commitment is not a feeling. It's not like, well, I felt committed. Well, I felt all in about it. Well, that doesn't mean you were all in. I mean, I have felt lots of great things about myself that aren't true. So commitment is not a feeling. It's a thing. It's a what's required plus what you said you would do.
So, and then what we're doing is we're taking the word commitment, we're attaching it to an emotion, to a feeling, when it is an action. And in discipline, is commitment honored. So when we're looking at a lot of things, I mean, what I'm getting out of this, again, as always, is really it's an understanding of the words that we're using in our vocabulary, in our action, and not truly understanding the meaning of this and how it impacts the way we move forward. Becoming what we want to be starts with being that, doing the actions necessary, which is that place of doing what is required, right? And then you become committed.
But this is another trap of potential, because remember, this is going to hurt some feelings. So the comment section,
bring it, coach. Bring it.
There's going to be some little boys and little girls inside of some people crying right now. Feelings are not a result.
No.
Feelings are not a result. Feelings are actually a starting place. Feelings are something that we can manufacture. Happiness is not a result. If your target is I want to be happy, you're screwed, because that's something that you decide. It's a state of being. It's not, your feelings are not a result. I feel good about it. Great. That's not, you can't put I feel good about it in the bank. You can't make a relationship with I feel good about it. You can't sign a contract on I feel good about it, right? If your feelings aren't, if what you want are good feelings, let me save you a lot of time, right? For a lot of people, you just drink a bottle of wine, you're going to feel great. Good. It's pretty cheap. You don't have to do any effort. You can do that from the comfort of your own home. If what you're after is feelings, then that's really, truly, you look at drug addiction, you look at sex, all these addictions stem off of this. Well, I want this feeling. And guess what? There's lots of manufactured counterfeit ways to get you pretty close. But that feeling itself, what we have to do is define, well, what would give me that feeling? So if Laurie says, well, I want to feel accomplished and confident, cool. What would make you do that? Oh, okay. Well, I would have this. I would be that. I would do this. Awesome. Well, when you put all that shit together, what is that? Well, that's a paid speaker who changes the lives of everybody she talks to. Awesome. Now, here's the trick. Laurie is a paid speaker who changes the lives of everyone she speaks to. Now, watch this. Guess what she found out as soon as that was true? It doesn't always feel good. In fact, sometimes it's terrible. Am I right, Laurie?
Yep, that's it. That's exact. And I wasn't very good in the beginning either.
Yeah, and you would say, right, she stayed committed. No, her actions of doing and doing what was required and doing what she said she would do, that's what developed her as somebody who was committed to learning her craft and trade and becoming good at it.
Watch this. You can play the wise game with this, right? Laurie has the title of paid speaker. Laurie has the results of inspiring people with their words. Why? Because Laurie did the things required to become a paid speaker and inspire those people. Why? Because Laurie believed and knew herself to be a paid speaker who could inspire people. It doesn't work the other way around.
100%.
It just doesn't work. Like, Laurie's a paid speaker. Why? Because she did this stuff. Why? Because she had what? And this is where we go down this whole like victim mentality of like privilege. I'm not saying privilege isn't real, but everyone has privileges and disadvantages. Everyone, all races, creeds, kinds, socioeconomic, demographic, we all have those, right? So we end up in this weird thing. We're like, well, what did she have, right? That here's something that winners
kept doing,
but you kept doing because of who you were,
because of who I was. Absolutely,
not because of advantage or disadvantage. Yeah, you were about to get into something that I want to drop before we get going. Difference between winners, losers. Keep going.
Oh, so here's the deal: winners, right? Like, winners are infinitely varied. Like, think about who your heroes are, right? I created a brand, Ford's Legend. Oh, sorry, wrong side. Legend. That's a big word. I wear the word legend on my chest. I have legend back, not on this shirt, but on other shirts. I walk in the gym. I'm like the worst guy at the jiu-jitsu gym, but I walk in wearing a legend shirt, right? Why? Because we live the legend of our lives every single day. It's a big thing. What does that look like? It's totally different. Think about the heroes of your life, whoever they are. Maybe it's George Washington. Maybe it's Nelson Mandela. Maybe it's Mother Teresa. Maybe it's Jesus. Maybe it's Muhammad. Whoever these people were, they lived their legend. They were who they were, and why they were became one thing. Right? That became one thing. The who and the why became one thing. So if you look at Florence Nightingale, who am I? I'm Florence Nightingale. Why am I? I'm here to bring nursing to a whole new level and to bring care and compassion to soldiers and people who are dying in a hospital. She did so well at becoming that the entire industry flipped. Like, there was a time when it was unallowable for a woman to be a nurse. We came so far the other way that when I was young, you would make fun of guys who wanted to be a nurse. But why? Because of one person who said, no, this is who I am, whether that's what you allow me to be or not. Then there's all sorts of other stories like that. Like people like Frederick Douglass, who freed himself as a slave. Frederick Douglass should not have existed. How in the world can this man free himself, then say, no, I'm going to live in the South because that's where I'm from, live free, and end up being invited to the White House twice for lunch as a black man born a slave? That's not, I love people like this because he really just said, hey, fuck possible. I'm going to do what I was put on this earth to do. That's it. Winners are incredibly varied. Okay. There's lots of different winners, lots of different kinds. Here's the thing that's similar about losers. I can tell you one thing about losers, right? Is they all know why they lost. They all know why. Winners, they have some ideas. They don't 100% know why, but they're all different. Every story from a winner will be completely different. Laurie's story to being the speaker, Rigo's story to being the podcaster, my story to being a coach, way different, right? But if all of us had failed, we'd have one thing in common. We'd all know exactly why we failed. We would know why, because we settled for that why. We settled for that reason instead of a result. Once we started converting potential into reality, it's ugly and it hurts and it's not fun and you fall on your face a lot. And no matter how much people say, oh, I just get up, it's no fun to fall on your face.
No.
Look, I mean, this right here, that's me getting the crap cranked out of me this morning. I was like, oh, great. I get something on my face today. It's not fun. I didn't like that when it happened, right? But the reality is some of us say, you know what? I'm going to convert this potential into results despite my reasons. Okay, there's lots of reasons to stop, but I don't want reasons. I want results. So I'm just going to keep failing forward. I'm just going to keep finding a way. Am I perfect? No, but I can be powerfully imperfect. If I can leave your audience with one thing, it's this. I'm going to talk about me, but I'm talking about you. I am a force of nature. I am a force of nature. I'm not the only force. I'm not the biggest force. I'm not the most important force, but I am a force of nature and I will be reckoned with in my life. My life does not happen to me. I happen to my life. And as that force of nature, when bigger forces come along and knock me down, I will find it within myself to get up. Let me remind you that you are a force of nature. You have all of the limitless, endless potential of me or anyone else that you look up to. But you're going to have to convert that potential to results. And that process will be ugly, will be painful, will break down, and will not always be nice. And your feelings are not the result. The result will give you feelings, but your feelings are not that result. Like, just go be the force of nature you were born to be.
Love that. I love that. All of that. I love the word legend.
Yeah.
I'm putting legend on my computer.
Yeah. Listen, I hope right now that you guys, I don't need to hope. I know you took value from this. I know that you are sitting in this mind soup right now of how many things just got sparked in you. This is important. This is why we have these conversations. This is why we're here. This is why we've done Lunch Talk. This is why the Contagious Leadership movement, we believe, is the most important thing that our company is doing out of anything. Beyond what we do and how we serve our clients, we believe that this is something that needs to be brought into the workplace, into the home, into friendships, into circles. How do we inspire each other to grow, become better, become bigger than what we think we can be? Because the truth is, we're all broken in some place, and it's through this community and other communities and organizations like what Coach Kevin's doing with Forge Legend that helps people come back into a place and put these pieces back so that they can identify and understand how they become what they are supposed to be, and understanding how to seize control and grab that power to move forward. This is what my journey is. Coach, I cannot thank you enough for coming back again. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Laurie-Ann, thank you. Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Laurie-Ann, for
Kevin.
being here again too. What was that?
I just love being here and being part of this conversation. It was really nice to meet you, and and just have this conversation. Thank you for being
Absolutely.
so open. Yeah.
So what I did is I dropped Coach Kevin's link to his organization within the chat. Check it out, forlegend.com. You'll see what they're about and what they're doing. I'm sure that we're going to have another opportunity to have Coach Kevin back again. If you guys appreciated this, do us a favor, drop some comments in there. What you most out of this. Share this within your network. People see what's going on. And don't forget, we're going to continue to bring these type of programs back to you. Do me a favor, join our group, our community, so that you know the next time we go live. Text to 316-799-8052. Join our community. Join us by texting anything. You can text a hashtag lunch or just text us 316-799-8052. That joins the community. We know when we bring out material, when speakers like this are things for you to receive as a value for free, or when we are bringing other podcasts out like this. Join us again next Thursday, 1 p.m. Central Time. Thank you so much. God bless, and we will talk to you later. Don, head us out. See you guys later. Thanks again.